Time went on, they were able to start paying him. He had his own home at that point, but they gave him some benefits, which was mileage, gas mileage. They paid his utilities, and they did a few other things. When Pastor Williams passed away and Pastor Smith came, at that time we had a parsonage. So we continued with the pastor's anniversary, where we collected money as a church and gave it to the pastor. And I failed to mention that we did that with the same with Pastor Williams. They collected, gave him the money because, couldn't really pay him. But we continued that on with Pastor Smith. And when Pastor Smith passed away, and before Pastor Noble came, as a church, they decided that we pay our pastor well enough that we can discontinue what was called a pastor's anniversary, and we do a pastor's appreciation. Pastor Noble did have a parsonage that New Hope owned, but we did not do the yearly collection for the pastor. That's basically the way it is now, with the exception we sold the parsonage, and when Pastor Earl came, we just gave him what is called a housing allowance. So that's just a little quick history on the pastor's anniversary and how we got to where we are today.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I don't think a lot of members, particularly me, I didn't know that. So I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. Ms. Linda McDonald, what are some fond memories or practices that no longer exist?
When I grew up, Sunday was set aside for a day of worship all day. And you start preparing for Sunday, Saturday night. You had to get your clothes ready. You had to prepare the meal, because on Sunday, you didn't do anything but go to church. If I can remember preparing something, washing an item of clothing that I needed for Sunday morning. And I was raised by a grandmother, so that was very strict. And she said, well, you didn't get it ready Saturday night, you go either wear it dirty, you're going to find something else. So they revered Sunday. They were set aside just for worship. You didn't do anything, but you went to church. Sunday, you started Sunday school. After Sunday school, you went to morning worship. And you came home and you got a little bite to eat. Then you came back for 3 o'clock service. Then there was BTU at 5:45, and then there was 7 o'clock service. At 7 o'clock service, we had communion and baptism. There was none of that doing it in the morning. Adults would take us out of town to different events. And we had a fellowship with churches out of town, with some of the neighboring cities, Muskegon, Flint, Saginaw. We used to do that at the afternoon worship, at the 3 o'clock worship. They would take us to conventions as well. They would expose us to the Baptist Training Union in the Sunday school convention. And sometimes we had to travel out of town. One of the senior ladies would get us all together in her car, and we didn't realize we were poor until after we got grown, because they would pack. We had to eat because we'd be gone like all day, and they couldn't afford to buy us meals or stop at any fast food places. So they would fry up chicken and put it in boxes, and we would stop along the highway and sit under a tree and eat our lunch, and then we'd go on to the service and then come back. We went to a field trip up north. New Hope was one of the first churches to have buses, and they took us up north on our camping trip. We had lots of adventures that you don't normally think of, even though it was when we were younger. That is probably one of the things that I think has changed a whole lot, is that we don't do church all day. We do it in the morning, and then we're pretty much done for the rest of the day, unless there's some specific event that we're celebrating.
Thank you so much for sharing. I especially love like the packed lunch, the chicken meals. I wish I was there to get a chicken dinner. I love that. Miss Linda Beverly. And the question is, tell us how the church felt about each move from Finney to Caulfield to Delaware.
I don't remember Fanny Street, but I do remember Caulfield to Delaware. I remember everybody came to the church. We lined up to the march. And I remember the cars, how the cars were decorated. Some of the cars were decorated, how slow that walk was. We had to go down. It was one street, I can't call the name of it, But we would go down the street and then we'd cross the viaduct to get to the church. It seemed like a long ways. And I think it was hot that day. And I remember my dad telling us, you better keep up. Because if you can go out and party all day and have fun, you're going to go to church and march down this aisle to our new church. I remember everybody was on one accord. There was no strife or no negative words. Everybody was happy doing this march from Caulfield to our new church on Delaware. And I was glad when we got there because I was hungry and I was tired. My feet was hurting. But it was awesome, an event for me.
I love that. Great memory. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, this next question is for Miss Ronnie James. Who do you think had a huge influence over the youth?
Mrs. Blanche Babers, because she just was into youth. That's just the number one. Mr. Willie Thurman, he was over at the BTU. Some of the women, Mrs. Atkins, she was, I think, directed the choir. Miss Shaw, and I know when we were on Finney, Miss Weeks was into the BTU, and there were just a lot of people that were into the youth, and it was nice. And my dad was also a Sunday school teacher. And when Linda was talking about the trips that they took, he wanted that to be a part of the curriculum for the Sunday school. Not only that you learned the word, but you knew that you had a part in the community and there were things that you could do. I know with his boys, he took them camping, and then they went up to the Mackinac Island, and then they let the girls join them to go to some of those different things too. I think it was called the Junior Girls.
Oh my God, that is so fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know. That is pretty fantastic. Miss Vernice Upton, what year did you join New Hope, and how would you describe the experience?
My name is Vernice Upton, and I grew up in a Christian home. I was saved at the age of 8 years old and was sprinkled by baptism in a Presbyterian church. After making my home in Michigan, I then joined a Baptist church, New Hope Baptist Church, and was baptized by the Reverend J.B. Williams on 257 Finney Street, Southwest. In the year 1963, I joined. The pool was located under the choir stand. Boards were covered the pool, so the choir had to come down and stand on the side, the left or the right side, so the boards could be taken up. I stepped down into the pool. I remember we only worshiped there for a few months. Then we moved to 882 Parkville Southwest on April the 19th to a larger church. There I joined the choir, attended Sunday school and Bible study, and a group was organized as the Rosebuds in 1982. The advisors were Doretha Brill and Antoinette Tate, Maxine Bardman, and myself. The girls were aged 15 to 18. The purpose was to develop more knowledge about the Bible and enhance their personal growth development as a Christian and be well behaved. They also adopted a grandmother and they showed the senior mothers who had no families around. I also served on the Nurses Guild for 19 years. I am so proud to be a member of New Hope. I've learned so much and have grown as a Christian. I love my church and thankful to be celebrating the 87th anniversary here.
And then we got Pastor Howard Earl. And I love him. He is such an asset to New Hope. And that's my story at New Hope.
Thank you so much for sharing. Oh my goodness, I learned so much. So the next question is for Ms. Pamela Hamilton Hall. In what ways has New Hope progressed as a church, meeting the needs of the community?
Well, we've always been active in the community. When thinking about all the different things that we have been involved with, I think many of us on this platform were younger. We were always involved with community activities and from our church. I know we were always involved with, like, for Vacation Bible School, we made sure that we picked up the students, because I'm a teacher, picked up kids in the community to make sure that they would come for Vacation Bible School. We had those opportunities. At that time, we were inviting people from the neighborhood to come and to fellowship with us on Friends and Family Day. We had those activities that were inviting other people as well. And relating that to right now, we do the same thing now. We also at one point were going to the prison, and we had a very strong prison ministry that quite a few that are on this platform participating as well. We had Camp Hall Park tutoring. We had that program that many were participating in and giving support. We had computer classes here that we were providing for them as well. We didn't have any students that did participate, but we did have those opportunities for them in our church, as well as tutoring. We had teachers in our church that provided tutoring service for students in the community and in our church as well. We also have the Angel Tree. We're still doing that right now, and that's going very strong. Mel Trotter, we're involved with those programs as well. We gave out food baskets, was very organized and very effective to many individuals in our community. We also provide an awesome Harvest Fest that has grown. So we've done quite a bit in our church as an outreach community. And now we're also helping with the nursing home that's down the street from us. And we did have nursing facility apartments at one time that we were involved with, that we purchased to be able to help senior citizens as well. So we've done a lot in the community, and we're still doing a lot in community because our church has always been an outreach center for those that are in need. So that's what I remember.
Fantastic. I love to hear how busy we are in the community. That is fantastic. I love the service that you just mentioned. Okay, the next question is for Mr. Lewis Montgomery. And the question is, how has the deacons' participation in the Sunday service changed?
When I first came here, New Hope, the deacons at New Hope used to lead worship service. They called it the morning devotions, the offerings, and communion. So the roles have changed quite a bit since we have been here. Oh, and one way that the deacon position has changed over the years is now we have 3 female deacons and 1 in training.
Good. Thank you so much, Mr. Montgomery, for answering that question. I really appreciate it. Ms. Juanita Forrest, and over the years, many changes have occurred in New Hope. And in your opinion, what has not changed?
The word has not changed. There is 66 books in the Bible from the beginning to the end. Hallelujah. The word remains the same. Amen.
So much for sharing. I just want to conclude by saying thank you so much for this rich dialogue. I, for one, with being a member of New Hope for about 6 years, have learned so much from each and every one of you. I just want to thank you for your heartfelt answers. And this was a lot of fun. So give yourselves a round of applause. This was really, really good. And now I want to pass it over to Ms. Deacon Hunter.
First, I would like to thank God for giving New Hope 87 years. That's a long time. Thank you to the Celebration Committee, Dow, the staff at New Hope Baptist Church, and all of the participants in the video. But before you leave, please watch this next section. Something called a biscuit tradition. Never heard of it. Still kind of like, I can't believe this happened. But I do believe our group because they're awesome. But take a look at this. Ms. McDonald, y'all said that that's what really happened, and I'm going to believe y'all. But I just don't see how your mama would let you use a biscuit on a shoe.
It was a leftover biscuit. And like I said, you had to do this. You had to get all of your stuff ready Saturday night. You couldn't be shining those shoes Sunday morning. So these was Saturday biscuits that was left over. And we all had the patent leather shoes with the strap across the foot. And you had to you break the biscuit in half. and then you take the bread part of the biscuit and you shine the toe of your patent leather shoes.
That's it.
Oh my goodness.
Biscuits were widely used.
But you just have to remember, back in the day, we as Christians put our best foot forward when we stepped into the church, from the head to our feet. And so therefore every strand of hair was in place, and for sure you could see your shoes.
Your reflection in those shoes.
Yeah.
Biscuits
on your legs too, because they'd grease you down with Vaseline.
Right. And I hated them shoes because they was hard to walk in. Them shoes was hard to walk in. You couldn't bend them. You couldn't bend those shoes. You couldn't even wear them out, could you?
That's called, they would call hand-me-downs, baby. We had to pass them down to generation to generation.
Oh my goodness. This was good. See ya.